Richard Petty don't believe in jinxes, so I know it wasn't a jinx on him. Just because I hadn't ever won it is no sign it's a jinx, because look at all the hundreds of people that have run and hadn't won, and they don't call it a jinx for them.
Richard Petty, by most expert standards, is the greatest stock car driver of all time. In his 18-year career, he has won almost twice the number of races as his closest competitor. In fact, he has won on every Grand National Division track in the country, except 2. And one of those is in his own backyard, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The nearest thing to a blemish on the otherwise remarkable career of an old country boy that race fans have come to worship as King Richard. May 22nd, 1975, Charlotte, North Carolina. A whopping crowd of over 20,000 fans have gathered to watch their heroes qualify for the 16th running of the longest race on the NASCAR circuit, the World 600. What better omen could any driver ask for? But Richard Petty, superstar of the STP racing team, doesn't believe in omens. Richard Petty believes only in himself, in his skill as a driver. Today he is surrounded by the greatest specialists in his field. Winners like Cale Yarborough, who is on his way to qualify for what will become the 5th starting position in Sunday's marathon. Cale has won at Charlotte once before, but he's never had a World 600 victory. Buddy Baker, a Charlotte native who in a few minutes will qualify his blue and white Ford for the 4th starting position, holds the record for the most World 600 victories with 3. He has an overall total of 4 wins on the hometown track. The Bud Moore-built car is coming off a big win at Talladega this month and will have to be considered a favorite. Donnie Allison, who will earn the 7th starting position today, has 2 victories here, one in a National 500 and one in a World 600. He is winless in 1975, but is always a threat on any track. Darrell Waltrip, the new kid in town, will soon qualify for the 6th starting position. With his first Grand National win coming only 2 weeks ago, the future looks bright for this 28-year-old youngster. Then there's David Pearson, the granddad of modern racing, and winner of last year's National 500 and World 600 races. His Wood Brothers Mercury will claim its usual place on the pole for Sunday's outing. But now it's Richard's turn to sizzle his 2 laps around the 1.5-mile asphalt track that has defied his efforts to win for the last 15 years. He will qualify today for the 3rd starting position. An excellent place to start a big race, especially in a year like 1975 that has offered some of the best competition the racing world has seen in many years. While most of the country is buried in snow, over 100,000 racing fans are basking in the brilliant Florida sun of Daytona Beach. The Daytona 500 is the first symptom of a disease known throughout the South as spring racing fever. The fans greet Petty warmly, as they always do here. If any man can be said to own Daytona, it is Richard Petty. He has won 5 Daytona 500s, 4 more than any other driver. Competition is as stiff for the beauty contestants as it is for the drivers. Pretty girls are at a premium in this world-famous vacation land, and they all want to be seen on the front stretch of NASCAR's richest and most glamorous Winston Cup race. "40 men and machines begin their slow circle of this monstrous 2.5-mile oval that once almost wiped out the Petty racing dynasty. In 2 separate accidents on the same day, Richard and Father Lee Petty both took trips over the wall, completely demolishing their cars. Richard walked away from his accident, but Lee's injuries finally led to his retirement. Since then, son Richard has attacked the track with a vengeance, defeating its highly banked turns and incredible speeds time and time again. The green flag falls for pole sitter Donnie Allison as Petty and Yarborough quickly jump around second and third place qualifiers Pearson and Bobby Allison. As the red, white, and blue Matador begins to fade into the field, it appears to be an early four-car duel. But Donnie's die-guard machine is forced to make way for both the Petty STV Dodge and Yarborough Chevrolet, dropping Donnie to a third-place battle with David Pearson. There's an accident in the third turn as 5 cars careen dangerously close to the press area. Only the incredible skill of these drivers prevents what could have been a major disaster. Petty's crew anxiously await to see if their car has been involved. But Petty is safe and heads for the pits to take advantage of the day's first caution flag. He gets a fresh set of tires, but the stop appears a little more serious. Something is wrong with the cooling system in the big Dodge. Luckily, Petty won't lose any ground on this lengthy stop. The slow caution laps on a track this size offer a crew several minutes to make adjustments they normally would have to do in a few seconds. But overheating is a serious problem in racing for the drivers and the spectators. The green flag finds the versatile Texan A.J. Foyt in the lead, closely followed by Petty and Donnie Allison. The USAC champion boasts he can drive any track from Indy to Daytona and has a previous win here to prove it. A spin out in the fourth turn takes another car out of competition and once again brings out the caution flag. But it soon becomes obvious Petty's problems have just begun.
You know, I could run real fast and run and catch up with everybody, and then the car would run hot and we'd have to come in and put water in it. Every time we put water in it, then I could go back out and run again. What happened, they busted a head on it and the water kept running out, so we had to keep it cooled off.
A fierce competitor to the end, he will nurse his car to a 7th place finish, while Benny Parsons captures his first super speedway triumph. March provided a chilly welcome for Richard Petty in Rockingham, North Carolina, for the 10th annual Carolina 500. But to the Petty crew, this may be a blessing in disguise. If thousands of hours of work and analysis have not cured the Dodge's heating problems, perhaps the 39-degree weather will. Richard is fresh off a win at a short track in Richmond and is eagerly awaiting his first super speedway win of 1975. Rockingham is a perfect track for race fans. A little more than a mile in length, it's big enough to be considered a super speedway, yet small enough to allow easy viewing. Buddy Baker has grabbed his first pole position of the year, with second spot going to Petty. A couple of the newer faces in NASCAR, Darrell Waltrip and Lenny Pond, have grabbed the third and fourth positions away from veterans like Yarborough and Pearson, who will start further back in the field than usual. Baker guns the big Ford into the lead as the green flag fans the chilly March air. As the field comes off the second turn, Petty stays right on Baker's bumper, and the duo begins to pull away from the rest of the pack. But Waltrip has different ideas and quickly nudges his Chevrolet into the battle to make it an early three-way race. Young Waltrip takes the lead as Baker, unable to keep the pace he helped set, fades into third. Coming off the third turn, Petty's back end breaks loose, but he quickly brings it under control and heads for the pits. Valuable seconds go by as the crew replaces a bad right side tire in an attempt to solve his handling problems. Waltrip is not far behind. As it becomes evident, tire wear may take its toll among the leaders. The two return to battle, only to find Yarborough is now in command. Cale has never won a Carolina 500 before, and with 4 second-place finishes, he's a little tired of playing bridesmaid to Mr. Petty. In spite of this, Richard is running hard and quickly slices into the lead with Waltrip right behind him. Yet the Petty crew seems anxious. Something else is wrong with the Dodge. Could it be heating problems again? That would be a cruel joke for fate to play on such a bitterly cold day.
And then all of a sudden I look down and the heat gauge is gone clean out of the world on it, and it's running 250 degrees, and so here I come into the pits again, and they start pouring water, and must have been about 10 or 15 degrees at the racetrack, and the poor boys was putting in water, and I was pretty hot under the collar, I guess, and you know, just because we'd had trouble at Daytona, and we did think that we had it fixed, and we did think we was running real good at Rockingham, and we felt like we should have been a winner, and being that I was sitting in the pits getting water again, it was really a very disappointing thing.
Petty moves his patched-up machine back onto the track and soon passes David Pearson in an attempt to make up his lost laps. Despite the heating problems, his car is still running good. But it's Daytona all over again, and Petty pits once more. His chances for a win gone, he'll have to settle for third place, finishing behind winner Cale Yarborough. A bad omen for Richard as the Charlotte race looms ahead. It may have been cold in Rockingham, but man, is it hot in Georgia. And a beautiful day for the Atlanta 500. Richard Petty has made an unusual gesture for this race by taking the pole position away from the usual chargers like Bobby Allison, Buddy Baker, David Pearson, and Donnie Allison, who are starting in the 2nd through 5th positions.
Actually, qualifying lasts 1 or 2 days, and the race lasts forever. So the race is way more important to me than qualifying. And if I can get in the first 4 or 5 in qualifying, and I feel like that I'm in the race, in other words, I'm up there with the fast cars, and I can run with them, and that's the main thing.
But Richard has a reason for trying harder. Of all the tracks where NASCAR holds Winston Cup Grand National races, Atlanta is the closest in size, shape, and potential speed to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The only real difference is that extra 100 miles. Miles which have cost Petty a number of victories over the last 15 years. But like Charlotte, Atlanta has also been a tough nut for King Richard. Even though he's won the Dixie 500 here 4 times in the last 9 years, he has never captured an Atlanta 500 victory. The green flag falls as Richard Petty leads the rest of the field around the track for the first of 328 laps. Bobby Allison, looking for his 2nd win of the year, passes Petty and takes the lead, while brother Donnie takes 4th place away from Baker. The Allison machine is setting a torrid pace. Pearson, anxious to keep up, passes Petty and is quickly followed by Donnie Allison. Is Petty having problems, or is he merely lying back within striking distance, saving the best for last? There's trouble in the front stretch as leader Bobby Allison and another car lose control. An alert track official quickly waves the caution flag to warn the others. For Bobby Allison, it's an early end to a promising afternoon. The restart finds Pearson in the lead, with Petty breathing down his tailpipe. The two are putting on a real show for the fans as King Richard decides to assert a little authority and takes the lead from Pearson. Johnny Rutherford blows a tire and slams into another car. There's a lot of bent sheet metal, but thanks to NASCAR's safety regulations, no one is injured. Petty takes advantage of the situation to pit. Just as an added precaution, a crew member points his hose at the radiator while another scrubs debris from the grill. After 2 disappointments this year, there's no reason to take chances. Cars dodge everywhere as another driver loses control on the front stretch. Those fans in the grandstands are really getting their money's worth today. After 3.5 hours of racing, it looks like it may be Petty's day. A costly pit stop has dropped Pearson a lap and a half down, and only Baker's Ford stands in the way of a sure victory. But Baker is also a lap down, and with only 8 laps to go, it will take a miracle to get him into contention. Then, just as Baker prepares to get back into the same lap, car number 64 blows an engine and spins out. Before the yellow flag can be dropped, another car hits the oil and loses control. The caution period allows Baker to advance all the way around the track. What was more than a lap lead a couple of minutes ago is now only a few car lengths. But cooler heads and a faster car prevail on this superspeedway. Richard Petty takes the checkered flag to be crowned King of the 1975 Atlanta 500. Reporters will write of this victory in Petty's war with the Jinx. What some will forget is that he's now within easy striking distance of becoming racing's first $2 million winner. Today, he takes home over $17,000. Not bad for less than 4 hours' work. If there's one place in the world where Richard Petty can truly be crowned king, it's in North Wilksboro, North Carolina, where he has 11 wins in the last 13 years. One of the oldest tracks on the NASCAR circuit, it offers many fond memories of battles with the superstars of yesteryear. But today, Richard faces a new challenge from a new star, Darrell Waltrip, who has won the pole position. Pushes Waltrip out of the way on the first turn and takes the lead. Mr. Petty is about to give the youngster his first lesson on some of the added skills it takes to handle the sharp turns and crowded conditions of a short track. Even though short track speeds are usually under 100 miles an hour, this track is extremely demanding on these machines, and only the best prepared cars will be around for the end. Waltrip shows how fast he can learn by retaking the lead. Petty hasn't been around the youngster long enough to know what to expect from him, but he does know how anxious Waltrip is to capture his first Grand National win.
I started off driving mostly short tracks, and it's a sort of a love affair that I have with short tracks, and also we're able to set the cars up real good on short tracks. That's the fun of really outrunning people. You're in close competition all the time on the short track. You're passing somebody either down a straightaway or into the corner, where on a super speedway a lot of times you're just running with the same pack of cars and there's really not that much passing going on.
Elmo Langley in car number 64 throws in the towel with a blown engine. David Sisko in car number 5 spins out between the third and fourth turns. That fourth turn appears to be a hot spot as Bruce Hill in number 47 also loses control. During one of the incidents, Petty tapped a car, smashing in his left front fender, and heads for the pits. A hurried inspection shows only sheet metal damage. If there's any internal damage, it'll have to show up on the track. The restart has put Cale Yarborough in the lead. Cale is one of the favorites at the track because his car's builder, Junior Johnson, makes his home here, and Junior always likes to please his neighbors with a win. But it takes more than smashed fenders to halt the Petty machine as he eases by Cale Yarborough. Richard Petty takes the checkered flag. For the 12th time, Richard is king at North Wilkesboro. It's been a long, hard day, but it's paid off with roses and a small pot of gold for Mr. Petty. But that's all history now. And with a lot of pretty girls around, like this, who wants to look at the past? Richard Petty doesn't. He looks only to the future. And the future is only as far away as the next race. And the next race is now. By accepting the Sundrop Pole Trophy for being this year's fastest qualifier, David Pearson signals the end of pre-race activities and the beginning of the 16th edition of the World 600. Over 100,000 spectators sit back and wait. Wait for those last few seconds that seem like hours before the start of a major race. There's a certain excitement in the air as fans begin to realize they may see something more than just another race. They may witness the crowning touch to a legend. The largest crowd in Charlotte Motor Speedway history rises to its feet as David Pearson and Lenny Pond lead Petty, Baker, Yarborough, Waltrip, and 34 other top contenders around the mile-and-a-half asphalt oval. 1975 has been an unusually good year for these men, and for NASCAR too. Although Petty has won 5 of 12 races, no one has dominated the superspeedway courses. In 6 of these races, there have been just as many different winners. Benny Parsons in Daytona, Cale Yarborough in Rockingham, Richard Petty in Atlanta, Bobby Allison in Darlington, Buddy Baker in Talladega, and David Pearson in Dover, Delaware. Today, one of these men, or perhaps some other driver in the field, will take home more than $27,000. The pace car drops off the track as 40 men gun 40 engines down the front stretch to take the green flag. Lenny Pond jumps into the early lead, while Baker quickly drops Petty to 4th place as the pack begins the first of their laps around the track. The Petty crew is worried. Something is wrong. The big Dodge is not handling right. All those countless hours of preparation may be wasted if Petty cannot pit soon. The old track may beat him again. But luck is riding with Mr. Petty today. A spin out on the 4th turn has brought out the first caution flag with only a few laps gone. Petty charges down pit road as his crew readies a set of fresh tires. In a matter of seconds, the change is made and Petty is on his way. The restart has Pearson in the lead, followed by Petty. Even though he's keeping up, Richard is still not pleased with his car's performance.
They told me, they said, from the pits, they said, this is the way it's going to handle. You're just going to have to learn to drive it. So, you know, I still had 500 miles to go, and I felt like if, you know, they'd done all they could do, then it was up to the driver.
And drive it he does. On lap 169, Petty passes Pearson and takes the lead. He finished second to the Wood Brothers car in both Charlotte races last year, each one decided on the final lap, but he has no plans to do it again. Yet there are over 200 laps to go, nearly 3 hours of racing, and anything can happen. A car spins out in the second turn as if to warn him to be careful. Petty only throws caution to the wind. This race means a lot to him, and there's still not enough breathing room between the Dodge and the rest of the field. There's another spin out in the second turn, and it seems as if the power of the old track is out to grab him. But Petty keeps right on charging. For 18 years, he has fought numerous hardships to set records that may never be surpassed. Over 160 NASCAR victories, 5 Grand National Championships, and now nearly $2 million in winnings. This race is the highlight of a career, the final stepping stone to total success, the big one that has slipped away so many times. Richard Petty wins the World 600, America's longest racing classic. Long live the legend. Long live the king. Richard Petty, king of NASCAR racing.